Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is our second episode of the App Service Community Standup. My name is Byron Tardif. I will be your host, and I have Tulika joining me, who will be talking today about WordPress. So we're going to go to that in a second. A couple of business to take care of. Remember to follow us on the App Service blog. This is the blog that is put together by the engineering team, and we keep you updated with news, etc. All the time. There's articles coming out weekly, pretty much. So if you want to get the latest, greatest about App Service, go check out the blog. You can also reach out to us on Twitter. We have the AC App Service tag. You can use that to send us questions. You can also send us questions through the YouTube chat or Twitch or wherever you're streaming. We'll try to get to that and answer them as soon as we can. And right before we jump onto WordPress, I have a little bit of news. One of the features that just dropped on the portal, and this is literally going on with the deployment that is coming out this week, is we now have the ability to set the minimum TLS Cipher Suite for your app. We have a blog and docs coming out, but this is basically a feature that was only available to people that were hosting their apps on app service environments. App service environments hosted apps still have a little bit more flexibility, but what this lets you do is it lets you come in and say, hey, I don't want anything that is less safe than this Cipher Suite. It will disable that, and you can do that now in the public multi-tenant hosted web apps that has been a request for some time. So keep an eye out on the blog. We'll have more news about this coming up. This literally just dropped on the portal, so go check it out. Okay, with that, I think Tulika, we can switch over to talk about WordPress. So why don't we start? Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what you do, what's your team, etc.
So I'm Tulika. I work as a product manager with the India Development Center. I'm a product manager for App Service, but App Service is so big that I look into specific areas of App Service. And I am a PM for Linux App Service and WordPress. And I'm excited here to be showing our WordPress offering. I don't think WordPress needs any introduction. I think most people do know what is WordPress. It's one of the easiest way to set up your content management system. We already know that more than 40% of all the websites on the internet are powered by WordPress. And it seems to be a logical fit to get WordPress on app service. So we give you the ease of WordPress with the full manageability of app service. And that's what I'm here to talk about.
Awesome. Yeah, I think you're selling your team short because you do a lot of work. It's Tulika's team is the one that powers all of the updates that we do for stacks. So every time that we get a new stack, a new version of a stack, a new patch of a stack, that's all coming from your team. And you do the WordPress gig as a side. So yeah, don't be shy about that. Okay, so I think we have a bunch of links that we're going to cover during the demo. I'm dropping them on Twitter, so if you want to read along, follow along, we're going to have there's about 4 different links there. That tweet should be live now, and then I guess take it away, Tulika.
All right, and the good part is I have no slides. I think that's always good. So we jumped right into demos.
Perfect. So let me add your screen. There we go.
All right. So we start with how do you create a WordPress site on Azure App Service. We try our best to make it as easy as possible. So this is the Azure portal. So go to the Azure portal, and if you click on the Marketplace link over here, and this is the Azure Marketplace where you will see that there are offerings from other providers as well. But we have our own offering over here, which is called WordPress on App Service. And that should be the first offering, and you can hit the create button over here, and that'll take you to the create experience. Now, one of the focus areas that we tried, our team tried to do is make it as simple as possible. We understand that there are people who want to do more advanced and everything that app service will let you do, but over here our intention was to keep it as simple as possible. So all you need to do is provide your subscription, provide the region in which you want to host your app, and provide a username password, which is what you're going to be using for WordPress. So WordPress, since it is a CMS, has two personas to it. One is the user who's going to use your blog or portfolio or whatever you've set up. And the second would be the admin, which is presumably you who's creating the website. So the admin username password is what is going to be used by the admin persona to log into WP admin so that you can create content, upload content. I want to quickly mention that we have a number of hosting plans. We do understand that there are different kind of people and different kind of users for WordPress. So if you just click on the change plan, you will see that we offer three different SKUs. One is the basic SKU. So if you have a hobbyist, you want to set up your own small travel blog, cooking blog, this is probably the plan for you. This works on a standard, the A series VM. So you can see it's one core, 1.75 gig RAM, limited amount of storage. But maybe if you just want to give it a try, this is enough for you.
Right.
With each of the plans, you will also notice that we have a database server available. And as the complexity of the plan increases, you can see that the database server also correspondingly increases because this is a CMS. So a lot of your content is going to come from the database. So you can't
Right.
scale your app service. You have to scale your database together with it.
Right. And these are just starting points, right? Once you create this, is not set in stone. You can go and scale your app. If all of a sudden you become super popular and your travel blog is the number one in the world, you can still scale with app service, right?
Yep, yep, absolutely. And I think that's the power of app service that you can decide, I often get asked the question that what is the price that you're going to pay for hosting your app? And the thing is that the price is not fixed. It depends on you're getting traffic today, so you can scale up to a premium tier, but tomorrow, it's a holiday, you might not be getting enough traffic. You can go to a basic tier and just save on your costs. And that's I think where the real power lies.
Awesome. You actually just gave me a really great segue. For the next community update that's coming up next month, we're going to be talking about a new feature, which is the elastic scaling on app service. So, if you want to hear more about that,
Right.
make sure to tune in next month. And if you're hosting WordPress, you get to use that feature. You don't have to do anything.
And I think that that's cool too, because if you see a number of things over here like backup restore and SSL certificate and SSH, this is all provided by app service by default. So you just get all the goodness there right out of the box without having to configure anything at all.
Right. So what you're saying is app service provides free certificates, and because I'm hosting this WordPress app on app service, I get the free certificate feature,
Yeah,
and I get the scale feature, and I get the whatever improvements we do to the platform, you get them automatically.
correct. Now, for most users, you could just, click the create button over here. That'll create your app for you. But if you want to go and take a peek behind the hoods and maybe, look at the configuration, maybe change a few things, you can go to the
Mhm.
advanced tab and look at some of the settings that we have over here. Again, you don't have to go here. We set the defaults for you, so you don't need to change anything over here. But in case you want to, one of the focus that we had or my team had for WordPress was making sure it is as performant as possible. So some of the things that we provide you out of the box is integration with Azure CDN. So if this box is checked, it automatically creates a CDN profile for you, and an endpoint is configured This endpoint is configured in W3 Total Cache plugin, which we also install in WordPress for you. So everything, the static content is then served by W3 Total Cache from the CDN that has been set for you automatically. Again, you don't have to do it.
Awesome.
We do it automatically. If you're a little bit of a more advanced user, you can uncheck this and use Azure Front Door. And Azure Front Door is the Microsoft modern CDN, which is basically we have 118, I believe, of the last count, edge locations around the world. And this now starts working as a reverse proxy. So which means that for WordPress, that all the host names are now substituted with the endpoint for AFD, and the request goes to the reverse proxy. The reverse proxy tries to see if there is content which is already cached on the edge location. It serves the content from there. If not, it'll go to the web app and try to get the content from here. So it is much more faster, and the site acceleration is much quicker.
Awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of advanced features that you can do with Azure Front Door. I know that some people want to make sure that traffic to the app is only coming through a particular gateway, and Azure Front Door lets you lock it down to that. So that's really cool. There's a question, Tulika. Maybe we can take a minute here to answer it, which is, I'm going to pop it in the screen. Carnegie Johnson asks, are we able to integrate AAD with App Service WordPress? And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the way that I understand this question is we do have the easy auth feature that is a feature of App Service. So this works with WordPress because WordPress is just another app. And what you're able to do is the customer would, if you configure this, the customer or anybody coming to your app would see the login first. And once they're logged in, they can go into the WordPress, but you would still need the WordPress admin credentials that would be separate. That part doesn't integrate with AAD, correct?
Yeah. Yes. So the WordPress admin, the WP admin credentials is still stored somewhere else, and that has right now no connections with AAD. We are working on a feature where we can store the credentials, and we are trying to do a key vault integration. So, you can store the credentials on Key Vault and you can pick it up, but it's not exactly an AAD integration.
Awesome. Thank you.
So coming back over here, we have another thing that we added was a blob storage. Now, App Service by default uses a storage account, which is under the hoods. And again, you don't need to worry about it. But just for performance reasons, we allow you to enable a storage account. So this is going to create a storage account for you on our standard performance tier. And all the static content will be stored on the storage account and will fetch from the storage account. So which one, it reduces the load on the app service storage account. And then you can go and scale out your storage account and go to a higher tier if you have more content. And that will give you better performance for your site.
Yeah, and it also what happens here is the request is not even coming to App Service, right? When it's going to the blob storage, so there's no CPU use to serve static content, which is a key thing. The CMSs are loaded with static content, and if you can offload the compute for those requests to somewhere else, that's one of the best ways to get higher performance.
Exactly. And the final setting over here is virtual network. So by default, we create a virtual. Now you can see from the screen that we have an integration with several services. So it's WordPress, which is app service. It's integrating with your hosted MySQL database. It can also integrate with your blob storage. It integrates with your Azure front door. And so therefore, we create a virtual network under the hoods to manage all these integrations. But we got requests from customers where they wanted to use existing virtual networks. So you might have a database that you've already set up and it is behind a virtual network, and you want to make sure that your app service can talk to that database. So you can bring in your own virtual network and integrate it with it, and then change your database to be whatever is sitting behind that virtual network.
And this virtual network is key, right? Because this is what allows us to make sure that the only public endpoint ends up being WordPress and the database is always secure. So if you have the virtual network integration, and because of the configuration that we do, nobody that is not on the same VNet will be able to access the database.
Right. And you can go ahead, and all of these resources, I just want to mention that all of these resources are created as separate resources, which means that you
Mhm.
can go to the Azure portal and manage it separately as well. So,
Right.
this is not this one place where you can manage those resources.
Yeah. I think one way to put it is you can go and build a Lego set yourself if you want
Yeah.
to, but we give you this template that it's safe, secure, follows the best practices, saves you time, and you just creates it, and then
It
you can
just
customize
works.
it as you need it. Right?
Yeah.
We have a bunch of people testing this to make sure that it always just works. That's
Yeah.
the
Yep.
difference.
So at this point, we can hit the create button. It takes about 10 to 12 minutes for us to create a WordPress site. The reason it takes a little longer is we are provisioning the VM on which the site is going to run. We're going to download the WordPress image, our customized WordPress image, onto the VM. And we are going to set up the database and all the database connections. So that's why it takes a little bit of time for doing this. So instead of having you watch the hourglass going round and round on the screen, I have a website which is already created, and we're just going to, go and look at that website.
Yeah,
So
this is
in
what
the
I call pretend that we're a cooking show, and we just put something in the oven, and then we pull it on the other side already cooked.
So last night, while I was thinking about what to do for this, I decided that I picked up a new hobby in the last 2 years, which is painting. And I thought that I'll create my own portfolio. And what better way to show your portfolio than on a community call, in case anybody wants to give me
Exactly.
commissions.
There you go.
So, so I put up my paintings over here. But what I want to mention is, and again, this is the power of WordPress. It took me less than 30 minutes to set this up. You think of a theme and it's already there. The
Mhm.
has thousands of themes and thousands of plugins, and you just have to visualize what you want, and the rest is automatically done for you with very little customization. And I mean,
Right.
that I think is pretty
Yeah.
cool.
I think that talks to the power of WordPress, which is that community that exists, and also calls out the fact that this is standard WordPress. There's nothing there but WordPress. There's no any other magic that we're changing or adding. Um, there are some tweaks that we do for performance, right? Or
Mhm.
like
And let's go ahead and take a look at that. So I'm going to go to the dashboard over here. I've already logged in once because I don't want to show you my credentials. So I've logged in over here. So you can just go to the dashboard, which is basically taking you to the WP admin. So this is the WordPress, and for those of you who've used WordPress, this is the standard WP admin. There is very little changes that we've done over here. Certain things to point out is we are running on the latest version of WordPress. So if you create a new site, it'll automatically get the latest version. Because we are a PaaS service, we also constantly update the platform for you. So we will update the Linux versions for you. We will keep PHP and MySQL automatically updated for you, and you don't have to worry about it. The things that we don't update are things that is customized to your website. So we will not update a theme for you, or we will not update a plugin for you, because that has the potential of breaking your content, and we don't want to do that. So we give you the power of deciding what kind of update you really want and doing it for yourself. So I want to show the plugins that we have, and we install 3 plugins for you out of the box. And the first one is the anti-spam plugin. This is provided by WordPress by default to block spam. And this is there just out of the box. The second plugin that we use is Smush. And Smush is used to reduce the image size just so that you can have better performance for static content, and it also boosts your SEO. So that's something that we use by default. And the most important plugin that we have is W3 Total Cache. So W3 Total Cache is where we put in a lot of benefits of the performance that you see. And let's go and look at the settings of W3 Total Cache real quick. So if you remember that when we were creating the website, we had the CDN settings. And if you
Mm-hmm.
go over here, you can see that CDN is enabled because we set the setting over there. And it sets the CDN type to be the Microsoft Azure storage because remember we had the checkbox for blob storage also
Right,
enabled.
right, right.
So it has
Wow.
automatically configured this for you.
So behind the scenes, what happened was you created the web app, you created the storage account, and you were able to pass in the config into WordPress so that I didn't have to go do anything. This was just already
Yeah.
wired up.
Yeah. And this, if you had to do it manually, would be so many steps to first figure out
Yep.
which plugin to use, do all the configuration, manage everything on
Right,
your own.
right,
It
right.
could be a pain.
And if I don't like this particular plugin, I can always go and replace it with another one, right? There's
Yeah.
it's not
Yep.
set in stone. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I just wanted to show the CDN tab. And if you go to the CDN tab, you can see over here, there's the account name that we set up for you, the account key, that's the blob container. And it automatically tells you it's going to replace the host name with the Edge network CNAME. So everything that you refer will be having this domain name appended to it so that it can go to the CDN instead of going to the web app. And also you can do everything that you can do for a WordPress site. This is just a normal WordPress
Yeah.
site, which means that you can go to a theme, you can change your widgets, you can change your menus, whatever you want on how you design your website. Everything is available.
Awesome. So Tulika, like this is something where the team continues to work on this, and I think you wanted to highlight some of the changes that we've done over the last couple of months.
Yeah, so some of the changes that we've done one of the things that we really wanted to concentrate on, I mentioned that performance was this big thing that we went after because we
Mm-hmm.
understand that if you're going to set up content, you would want the best performance for the people who are visiting your site. So we did a lot of things for improving performance. Some of the things that we did is the plugins that we mentioned, the caching, the CDN, all that stuff. But then we realized that we just don't want to improve the performance of the main site. We also want to improve the performance of the admin persona because it makes sense, right? If you're putting in a lot of posts, you probably
Mm-hmm.
want a decent performance over here as well. So we did a lot of work in the last few months to accelerate the admin performance for WordPress. And you can look at some of the, without the accelerated performance, you doing a post was taking like 14 seconds. And now with our improvements, it's like 3.4 seconds. So like an increase of 313%. I think that's awesome.
Wow. Yeah, that's meaningful.
Yeah. So that's something that we have done. The other kind of feedback that we kept on getting from our customers is that they would like to play with WordPress a little bit before deciding that, this is like committing to it, if you will. And we've
Mm-hmm.
been working on reducing the pricing for our WordPress offering as well. And a lot of this was so when you look at WordPress pricing, it's determined by two things. It's app service, but it's also your hosted MySQL. And what we were able to do is that we were able to work with the MySQL team and give you a reduced price offering for MySQL, which brings down your entire offering price. And you can see that some of the improvements that we have over here. And that was another big change. So we introduce a new version of MySQL with a lower price, but which can scale to whatever you want. So you start at a lower price, but then you can scale the IOPS, you can auto scale things and get a more optimized database performance as well.
Makes sense. So over the last couple of months, you've kept WordPress up to date. You've made it more performance and you've made it cheaper.
Yes.
What's next?
So the next thing is I wanted to show now I showed WP admin. So for all the WordPress admins, this is the place you want to manage. But I wanted to show a few settings that you can manage on Azure itself because these are app service settings. And if you're familiar with app service settings, you probably know all this, but just want to call it out. So the first thing that I want to, this is my web app. So if you notice, this is the app that I was browsing, TCWP app. And so this is a web app like any other. If you know how to manage a web app, you already know how to manage your WordPress site. But a few things to call out here is the configuration tab. Now, remember how we were doing all these settings and the checkboxes that we were clicking? Well, it all gets stored in your configuration for your web app. And one of the ways that we store it is something called application settings. So you can see over here that it's got CDN enabled. So you can check over here, CDN is enabled. It gives you the CDN endpoint. Remember, this is the endpoint that we were seeing in W3 Total Cache. It configures that endpoint automatically for you. It configures your database name, host, password. And I mean, in general, you would have to do nothing. We set this all up for you, and you can just play with WordPress. But sometimes, once in a while, maybe you want to change your database name. Maybe you have a different database and now you want to hook up to that database. This is the place that you can come to and change your database name, host, and password and username. And you can now have your WordPress talk to a different DB and not the one it was set up with originally.
Cool. So this gives me the flexibility of not being locked into what I created at start, right? I can
Yeah,
go and change and update stuff.
correct. Just want to point out, and I think Byron has already shared it in the messages. This is where you can see all the application settings that we have available. We've got the documentation for all of them in case you want to play around with a few of these. And again, I just want to mention that you don't have to. We set it up like out of the box for you. It's just that sometimes you might have a specific requirement, and in that case, this is the place to go where you want to change the settings.
Perfect. So I'm very sharp-eyed, and I saw an app setting that looks interesting to me. So PHP my admin, what does that mean?
So WordPress provides something called PHP My Admin, and we can go and look at PHP My Admin for the website also. For people who already do WordPress, they're probably familiar with PHP My Admin. This is a place where you can check your database queries. So if you want to check what queries, the tables for your database, what queries you're running, if you want to check the performance of your database queries, maybe tweak them a little, PHP admin, my admin is the place to go.
And this is installed out of the box, so you didn't have to do anything to add it?
Yes, absolutely. This is installed out of the box, and we had to do this. This username password is stored like in the app settings, so I'll have
Yeah,
to go
yeah.
back and check the app settings. So I'm not going to do it right now.
But
Um,
people that know that PHP my admin, you know what it is, you know what it looks
yeah,
like.
yeah,
It just comes out of the box. You didn't have to do anything special to set it up,
correct.
and it talks to your database, and it's a very convenient thing to have.
Yeah.
Okay, Tulika. So I think we're getting close to time. For anybody that wants to, get started with this, maybe they don't know anything about WordPress. What's the best way to just, dive into the deep end?
So we have a quick start on how to create. This has, the basic things that we spoke about. It shows you the screens that you can use, and this would be the place to start. It got the link, which has got the template that you can use, and this is the place that you can start if you're creating your new WordPress site. And I think this is the best place for you to start up.
Right. So we do have a question. It's from Narnia Expert. He's asking, is WordPress a Microsoft product now? No, WordPress is open source. We don't own any of this, but the reality is that people do come to App Service to host WordPress, and there's enough of it that we've had WordPress actually for ever since App Service was ever available. It is in the open source version of WordPress, which you can go and host anywhere. We're just providing this recipe that is pre-cooked, and it's going to follow the best practices, and it's going to be guaranteed to work on App Service. That's really what it comes down to. If you go to the marketplace and search for WordPress, you'll find multiple different versions. WordPress on App Service is the one that is curated and produced by the App Service team and guaranteed to be the best option for hosting it on App Service.
Okay, and I just want to also mention, just real quick, I know we are almost out of time, but remember how we were talking about the hosting SKUs? And one of the power of
Right.
app services is you can scale up or scale out. So, if you at some point of time determine that you started with a basic plan, but you want to go to a premium plan or a standard plan, you can choose whatever plan works for you. And we, conveniently give you the pricing options as well, right on the screen. Another thing we can let you do is scale out. So, scale up is you have a higher powered VM, while scale out is you add more VMs and load balance across the VMs. And we can let you scale out manually, like you can decide you want 2 VMs right from the start, or you can do it rule based. So you can say, oh, if I get more than 10,000 requests, or if my CPU is more than 60%, then go scale me out. You can even do it like based on time of the day. So you can say, in the morning, scale out, then scale back in. And so you can optimize the cost that you're going to spend.
Exactly. Okay, I think that wraps it up. Some usual business to attend to. Thank you very much for joining us, Tulika. I know that this is really late for you, so thank you for making the time.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, a reminder to everybody that you can reach out to us on the AC App Service Twitter handle. I think I addressed all of the questions that came in during the live stream, but if you're watching this later and still have a question, you can reach out to us on AC App Service. We have the team blog, where you can get the latest, greatest news as they happen. This is put together by product engineers. It's not a marketing blog. This is like the real deal, the unfiltered, if you will. And a reminder that we do have the next live stream that is coming up May the 4th. May the 4th be with us, if you get the joke. It's going to be packed. We're going to be talking about new SKUs, new scaling, and a cool new feature that is the #1 user requested feature. So hopefully that's enough of a tease that you'll come back and watch us next month. Having said that, any final words, Tulika?
No, I think this was fun. We should
awesome.
Do it more
Thank
often.
You very much for coming. Yeah, we'll. I think you have enough WordPress content that we could do a couple of these, but I think that's enough for now. We're gonna let you go sleep. And thanks everybody, and we'll see you again next month.
All right. Thank you, everyone.